holiday season is finally upon us. Welcome into the Swank Tank. Welcome into episode 24, I believe it is now. Welcome in to our Thanksgiving episode. Thank you so much for being here. It is Tuesday morning, November 25th. We are 2 days away, as we're recording, from Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving Day, what does it bring? Turkey, ham, stuffing, mashed potatoes, every food that you love and that you just think of when you think cold weather. And football, most importantly, will be provided to you hopefully on Thursday. You'll be eating all that good food. You'll be watching the Dallas Cowboys maybe on your screen. If you eat more around lunchtime, you'll be watching the Green Bay Packers on your screen. If you're a late Thanksgiving family, like a 7 p.m. dinner, 7:30, maybe even 8, you got the Ravens on your screen. We got 3 great games on Thanksgiving to go over. Along with that, in this episode, we'll be recapping some of the main Week 12 storylines. Had some big ones. 3 major teams fighting for playoff spots, all won. Alongside that, Dallas, who we're obviously talking about for this Thursday episode, the Thanksgiving episode as well. Major win over the Eagles. I called it. But come on. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Along with that, J.J. McCarthy's poor performance and so much more on this episode of the Swank Tank. Welcome into the show. If you're not already, please make sure you're going following on all the socials. TikTok, Instagram. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, hit that follow button. Hit those 5 stars. Slowly but surely. Growing. I appreciate you, all of you, for listening and tuning in on your holiday week. You're getting work off soon. And you're getting Thanksgiving football soon. Make sure you're following all the socials. Great content coming out still throughout the week, even though it's holiday week. We don't take breaks here, people. We don't take breaks. We take accountability. And we make some, hopefully, damn good Thanksgiving predictions. Welcome into the show. Without further ado, let's dive straight into some big Week 12 storylines. Again, appreciate you being here. I'm your host, Ryan Swankowski. And, first storyline we got to get into is my record from Week 12's picks, because we did a phenomenal job of predicting straight up winners in Week 12. So far, 11-2. Monday Night Football is happening as I'm recording this. You go, Swank, you just told me it was Tuesday morning. When you're listening to this, most likely Tuesday morning or Tuesday evening, Wednesday, whenever it is. This episode's out on Tuesday morning. So currently have Monday Night Football going on. To my right, 49ers and Panthers. 49ers are already up 7-0. I projected and predicted a big 49ers win here. Wanted them to just feel comfortable for once this year. And I think they do that on Monday Night Football. We'll see how that ages. But 11-2 so far in Week 12 picks. That moves us to 116-62 on the year. Yep. We almost have double the amount of correct picks than incorrect picks. We're getting there. We're close. 11-2. Music to my ears. Beautiful. I can already see, that's like a nice big old piece of honey ham placed on my plate with some nice mashed potatoes already. That's what that feels like to me, going 11-2 and straight up winners in Week 12. We'll see if the Niners can make that 12-2. I believe they will. But 116-62 straight up on the year, we like that. All right, let's now get into our first big topic of the episode from Week 12. The Texans, Chiefs, and Ravens all win in Week 12. The Ravens are now in the lead in the AFC North. They have won 5 straight games. They were 1-5. They are now at 6-5. The Texans have also come back from the dead. They started 0-3. They now sit at 6-5. The Chiefs relatively have been, quote, dead in, comparison to years past. We're used to their dominance. We're not used to seeing the Chiefs sit at 5-5, now 6-5. Ravens, Texans, Chiefs, all 3 of them sit at 6-5. The Ravens now are in the lead in the AFC North, but the Steelers are right there on their tail, sitting at 6-5 as well, and they have not played each other yet. Let's get into these teams. Let's get into their Week 12 games and their potential games going down the stretch and the importance of those. But I'm going to ask you this. They're all 6-5. The Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Texans. All three of them are 6-5. Let me ask you, which of those three teams is the best? Don't go off playoff record. Don't go off bias. Right now, if these three teams had to face each other, let's call it a neutral field, right? Of these three, which team would you feel the most comfortable with getting a win over one or the other? Which team's the best? You let me know. We're going to start here with the Texans. Huge win on Thursday Night Football against the Bills. Defeat the Bills 23-19 and move to 6-5. Texans defense, 8 sacks. That is a very good Bills offensive front. They do a strong job protecting Josh Allen. They do a strong job creating gaps for James Cook to run through. 8 sacks by that Texans defensive front, led by Danielle Hunter, led by Will Anderson, who's had a sack in 6 straight games, I believe it is now. Dominance from the Texans defense. Along with the 8 sacks, 3 total turnovers forced. This has been the best defense in the NFL from week 1. I understand the Broncos is fantastic. I understand Seattle is fantastic. Until they gave up 24 last week. I believe it was to Tennessee. 24? Something like that. Texans defense is the best in the NFL. Not only can they get after you, they have Stingley, they have Bullock, they've got Lassiter. They are just so deep at every position, and they got pop at every position. Hunter and Anderson, 2 of the hardest hitting defensive ends in the NFL. Kamari Lassiter, very hard hitting corner. You got a guy like Al Shire, who at linebacker, who in years past, maybe even this year, plays a little dirty. I'm not saying I'm for that. I do like the edge he brings. This team flies around and can take off your head at any moment. Got to have it on a swivel if you're any offensive player. And in this game especially, the Bills' offensive line did not have their head on a swivel, giving up 8 sacks. Offensively for Houston, Mills, 2 touchdowns. They've now won 6 of their last 8 games. 6 of their last 8. And who were their 2 losses? They lost to Denver on a game-winning field goal in Houston, and they lost on the road Monday Night Football to Seattle. Not trying to give them credit for their losses. Never will. NFL, a loss is a loss, a win is a win. But those are 2 warranted losses. And they, in my eyes, should have beaten Denver. Stroud gets knocked out of the game. I believe it was that game with a concussion. It was that game. Early in that game, no excuses. They lost. But they've won 6 of their last 8. They're hot. They just beat Buffalo. They have had other strong wins over the course of the season. Again, started 0-3 and now sit at 6-5. My big note for this game and for this team, nobody wants to see that Texans defense in the playoffs. Nobody wants to go up against that Texans defense in the playoffs. I understand offensively the Texans have a lot of weaknesses, but I can guarantee you, teams around the AFC, when you start to look at the AFC playoff picture, they do not want the Texans in there just purely based off what that defense can do to them. I believe some teams are scared to play Houston in the playoffs given that defense. Not given Houston's track record in the playoffs. No way. Not given their offense. No way. Purely on what DeMeco Ryans' defense can show and how they can execute against every team they're playing against. That's my note. The Texans defense is unbelievably scary. And if I'm other AFC teams, I'm hoping I don't have to run into that defense come playoff time. Because that's a dangerous situation. Big win for the Texans. Bills. A lot of questions. Lots of questions. I said over the offseason, I didn't think they reloaded enough. I can go find that clip for you if you want. I believe they did not reload enough. And I was very scared about that. That's been evident. Yeah, they have defensive flaws, especially in the run game. But at the wide receiver room, I mean, their quote star wide receiver they drafted, I mean, at least I thought he was going to be relatively a star, when they used a high draft pick on him just 1 year ago in Keon Coleman, isn't even playing in these games due to character issues. There's problems in Buffalo. And when Josh Allen can't do it all, Buffalo can't win the game in 2025. They got issues of their own. Texans in a big-time win. The Chiefs defeat the Colts 23-20 in overtime. They move to 6-5. Note here, four of their five losses, have been on the road. They've been home warriors this year. 4 of their 5 losses have come on the road. Mahomes against the Colts, 352 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Here's the shocker of this game. Was going over the box score, of course. Have to get my good Swank Tank data for you. Kareem Hunt. Take a guess how many carries Kareem Hunt had in this Colts vs. Chiefs game. Did you guess 18? You're wrong. Did you guess 25? You're wrong. Swank, just come on. Give me the answer. Okay. He had 30. 30 carries in this game. To put that into perspective for you, Kareem Hunt has 116 carries on the season. He had 30 in this game. He had more than a fourth of his total carries. The Chiefs have played 11 games. More than a fourth of his total carries in this one game alone. Result, a win. Result, a win. The Chiefs, we just got stat after stat in this game. They only scored 23 points, but you got Kareem Hunt with 30 carries. You have the Chiefs getting 33 first downs. How was that even possible? 33 first downs. They had a 42-minute time of possession and 239 more total yards than the Indianapolis Colts. But 1 of 6 in the red zone. That's why they couldn't put them away. That's why they were trailing a majority of this game. Trailing the whole game until overtime when they won. They couldn't find the end zone. They were having long drives, 15, 16, 17 play, 5, 6, 7 minute drives, and couldn't punch it in whatsoever. They did one time. Couldn't do it. Credit to the Colts defense for bending, not breaking. But the Colts offense, they didn't bend. They snapped. They snapped in half. Colts had 0 turnovers, 0 sacks given up. But Jonathan Taylor had 58 rushing yards, and they ended the game on 4 straight 3-and-outs. In the first half, had success moving the ball down the field, opened up the game, I believe, on a touchdown drive. Had some big turnovers against Mahomes on the other side of the field. Second half comes around, just flat. And obviously, their success comes from Jonathan Taylor. When he has 58 yards, it's hard for the Indianapolis Colts against a team that is obviously competitive, against a team in their own building is unbelievably hard to beat, against a team that when their back is against the wall, they almost always find a way to win. When your best player has only 58 rushing yards, it's going to be hard for you to win, given this Colts identity, given who they have on their roster, given how they want to win the football game. The note here, the Chiefs took what the Colts wanted to do and did it better. Yes, they did. I understand the Colts played a very clean game, no turnovers, no sacks given up. But I can guarantee you their plan, what they've been doing all year long. They want to get the early lead. They did that. But they want to control the time of possession. And they want Taylor to go for 100 plus. If Taylor goes for 100 plus and they control the TOP, the Colts are going to win probably 9 out of 10 games they play. Almost all of them. But they got smoked in time of possession. 42-minute time of possession for the Chiefs. That's what the Colts wanted to do. Long drives, extended drives. Play clean, yes, they did that. Extending the game, ticking it down, tick by tick by tick. 7-minute drive, 8-minute drive. First down off of third downs. That's what they wanted to do. The Chiefs took their game plan, gave Kareem Hunt the ball 30 times on the ground, and had 42 minutes TOP. Credit to the Chiefs for fighting in this game. It looked like they were pretty flat, especially at the start. What do? All they do is fight and know how to win. They've been there before 1,000 times. Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen have not. It's already a hard enough place to play on the road in Arrowhead. It's much harder to then win there when you don't close the door. When you go 4 straight 3-and-outs to end the game. Hard to win in doing that. Credit to the Chiefs finding a way to win, keeping their season very much afloat. They're 6-5 and still on the prowl. Moving into the third game of this segment. Ravens defeat the Jets 23-10 and move to 6-5. Lamar, 153 passing yards in this game. That's it. That's all he did. No picks, no rushing touchdowns, no turnovers by him. 153 passing yards. Okay. Ravens defense caused 2 turnovers. Here's their stat. The Ravens defense, through their first 6 weeks of the season, were bottom 5, bottom 10 in almost every category. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. Hell, they couldn't stop wind if you try to get by them. I mean, Swiss cheese, literally. Over their last 5 games, they've won 5 straight. They were 1-5. They're now 6-5. Again, they're atop the AFC North. Over their last 5 games, they're giving up 13.4 points per game. They are giving up, I'm going to repeat it for you, 13.4 points per game. Incredible. I'm sure that's by far the best of any team over their past 5 games. I would bet any amount of money on that. It's been very impressive. They got healthy at the right time defensively. They put a lot of different pieces together. Yes, I know the competition's been bad. Very bad. But you play the teams on your schedule, and that's that. Defense has shown up when needed to, caused turnovers when needed to, has been just stronger in all aspects. They got Awuzie back, right? And they're missing Matabuke on the season, which is huge. But over the past 5 games, has done a really nice job of stopping the run as well. The big thing has been creating those turnovers when needed. Breece Hall was down, to the 5-yard line in this past game, punched ball out, basically sealed the deal, sealed the win. 13.4 points per game given up from the Ravens over their past 5. Very impressive. Very, very impressive, regardless of the opponent. It's the NFL. We all know that. Offensively, the Ravens were 2 of 11 on 3rd down and continue, in my eyes, and probably in most people's eyes, to miss that, quote, key, air threat. They're missing a guy. They have a guy that can stretch the field in both Zay Flowers and Hopkins. Those are guys that can get you a 40, 50, 60-yard play through the air. I'm looking for a guy that can get that 9, 10, 11-yard reception kind of whenever they want to. But they have Mark Andrews, right? That's supposed to be that guy. Okay, that's a valid statement. I want that guy in the wide receiver room. We haven't seen that in years from the Baltimore Ravens. Zay Flowers is a solid wide receiver 1. He's not going to go out there and most times win you the game. He's not an Amon-Ra. He's not a Tyreek Hill. Any of those guys, right? You know what I'm getting at. The Ravens are missing a wide receiver they can fully trust when needed. Flowers wants to be that guy. Flowers is a very good player. Not trying to knock him. But he brings speed. He brings agility. I'm looking for the big body type of guy that just can run that 10-yard slant. Hopkins used to be that guy, in a sense. He's getting a little old. I'm looking for the Ravens to have a bigger wide receiver piece or a bigger bodied wide receiver in that down the stretch, or obviously not down the stretch, maybe into next year. Because there's stats that back this up too. Their leading wide receiver in touchdowns is DeAndre Hopkins with 2. Their leading receiver by touchdowns is DeAndre Hopkins with 2. Mark Andrews has 5 receiving touchdowns. So when they, in the air, when the tight ends can't really get going, there's no air attack. There's really not much of an air attack whatsoever. The wide receivers need to be utilized. Zay Flowers need to be utilized in a more efficient way, whether that's deep threat, whatever it is. That's what worries me a little bit about the Ravens offense. Relying a lot in the air on just the tight end singularly. I think the Ravens in the future need to go get a big body wide receiver to help them out a bit. That being said, they won this game. Give them credit for that. They've won their 5 straight. Their defense has been looking fantastic over those past 5 games. I am still slightly worried. About Baltimore. But they now have an relatively easy game on Thursday Night Football. They are on Thanksgiving. They're leading their division. They've won 5 straight. Everything seems to be working, somewhat clicking for Baltimore. We'll see if they can keep that going on Thursday night. I think they probably will. But utilizing those wide receivers, maybe not having that, quote, bona fide go-to guy in the wide receiver room, might come up to hurt them down the stretch when their tight ends are limited, when Derrick Henry can't fully get going. And you saw that here a bit in this game. Ravens win the game 23-10. We move forward into our next segment. Here we go. What a win. What a win for Schottenheimer. What a win for Dak Prescott. What a win for Dallas as a whole. The Cowboys beat the Eagles 24-21. And I'm just going to tell you, I called it. Look, if I'm going to get bashed on social media, TikTok and Instagram especially, for missing a pick, I'm going to take my credit, pat myself on the back for getting a pick correct. And not only was it just, quote, a pick, it was a pick a lot of people hated. And a lot of people didn't want to bet. And it was an upset pick. And I knew it all week long. I was sitting here in this room. If you're watching on YouTube, I was sitting here in this room on that couch behind me. Beautiful burnt orange couch. By the way, go Horns this coming week against A&M. Hook 'em. I was sitting there on that couch. I had some buddies over, and they go down. Cowboys go down 21-0. They were down 21-0 in this game. And I still told them, I go, they're going to come back and win this game. I told them that. I could still feel it, that at that moment they were going to win. Dallas was shooting themselves in the foot in the first half. Blocked the punt that got called a non-block, but rather a roughing. Extended the drive for Philly, touchdown. Bad fumble by Turpin, tripping and then just hitting his own player in the back of the leg. Ball pops out. Eagles get the ball. Later on, touchdown. I mean, they were just completely shooting themselves in the foot. And we're down 21-0. And I still felt they were going to win the game. I'm glad I stuck with my gut. And I'm glad I was able to get this one right. I'm going to take the credit when it's there. I'm going to take the blame when it's there. I'm taking the credit here. Just got to do it. Got to do it every now and then. Cowboys beat Eagles 24-21. Eagles second half drive chart. You ready for this one? Here we go. I wish I could cue some sad music for this clip. Maybe I'll go find some. Eagles second half drive chart. Punt. 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 Missed field goal. Fumble. Fumbled punt. Punt. Yeah, that's pretty sad. And that has kind of described and really represents the Kevin Patullo offense we've seen all season long from the Eagles. More on him in a second. Eagles had 14 penalties in this game. Barkley had 10 carries for 22 yards. It's astonishing how poor. It's hard to put blame on Barkley. He's not getting a lot of volume. The Eagles' offensive line has obviously, regressed from last season. It's hard to put blame on Barkley because how talented of not only a player but a freaking athlete he is. Reverse hurdling over people, putting people in the blender. All right, I don't want to spin around you. I'm going to go right through you. That's who Saquon Barkley is, and especially was last year. Then you see the Barkley of this year, and you go, what the hell has happened? 10 carries for 22 yards against a Dallas defense that is I believe, bottom 10 in rush yards given up. Yeah, they brought in Quinnen Williams, and yeah, they brought in Wilson from the Bengals. That defensive front is still not great. It's definitely bottom half, especially in the run game. 22 freaking rushing yards from Saquon Barkley on 10 carries. That's a crazy stat to me. Crazy, especially against this Dallas front, especially in this situation. Just unacceptable. And then you throw in a fumble in there from Barkley as well. Let's keep going. In their 3 losses, the Eagles have 3 losses now in the year. In those 3, they have 181 total rushing yards. So in their 3 losses, they're having just over 60 rushing yards per game. That includes Hurts's rushing yards. Total rushing yards in their 3 losses. They have 60 rushing yards per game. Therein lies the issue. It's a big one. It's a big one. Again, the offensive front for the Eagles has shuffled around a bit with some injuries. Obviously, you lose Kelsey to retirement, which is a big deal. I get it. But it's worse than anybody could have thought. If I would have told you over the offseason that in any game, Barkley just has 22 rushing yards, you probably would have been somewhat shocked. Oh, did he only have 3 carries? Oh, did he leave the game early? No. Nope. They just got smoked in the second half. Smoked. Just unacceptable. Kevin Patullo, offensive coordinator for the Eagles, has never been an offensive coordinator. This is his first year as OC. He's been with the Eagles. This is his 5th season with the Eagles. Has been there several years now. But his first year as OC, and all of his experience throughout his NFL career. He's been with the Eagles, like I said, for multiple years. He was with the Colts. He's been a few other places. I think he was in Kansas City for a bit. He's been passing game coordinator, and he's been assistant offensive coaches to the passing game. He's been wide receivers coach. All of his work in the past for Kevin Patullo and his recent stops in the NFL have involved the passing game. He then becomes OC for the Eagles this year in his first year as offensive coordinator. And where's the struggle for Philly? Yes, A.J. Brown hasn't been able to get going fully. Hurts has been pretty good in the passing game. Maybe you would like to see him be a little bit, more dynamic in that sense of taking more deep shots. Okay. The passing game is not the big issue. It's the running game. And Kevin Patullo, over his career, was the passing game coach and passing game coordinator and the wide receivers coach. The running game, that just makes so much sense. All of their first-time offensive coordinators' experience has come through the air. Where's the big struggle for Philly? It's on the ground. You can't get Barkley going. You make that Eagles team fully one-dimensional. Even then, they should be able to still beat you. Not this year. Not the way it's been going for Philly. They're so damn talented at the wideout position. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert is a top 5 fantasy tight end this year. Jalen Hurts is a very strong, solid quarterback. But when you make the Eagles one-dimensional in 2025, they lose the game. Most times they lose that game. So it's evident that Kevin Patullo's offense is struggling mainly due to potentially, let me rephrase. The Philadelphia offense is obviously struggling in the run game. Maybe that's due to Patullo's lack of experience in the running department. I think it has to do with the O-line, right? Like we've already touched on. But there's really no other excuse. You have a top 5 back in Barkley. You have top 10 wide receiver in A.J. Brown, talent-wise. Devontae Smith and Goddard are both very, very good as well. Jalen Hurts has the ability to run for 100 and throw for 300 if needed. There's really not a lot of excuses for Patullo. Maybe it's his lack of experience in the running game over his career and his lack of experience completely calling the plays that's really hindered the Philadelphia Eagles in 2025. I think that's got to be it. Lack of experience throughout his career in the running game and full-on lack of experience as offensive coordinator, given that it's his first year. With Dallas, Schottenheimer needs to be getting more credit for this win. This is tied the largest comeback in Dallas Cowboy history. How is that even possible? It's only 21 points. This was tied largest comeback in team history in a win for Dallas. Crazy. I would have thought it would have been way more. 21 points. We're down 21-0, come back and get the win. Pickens had 146 in this game and 1 touchdown. Lamb overall struggled a bit with a few drops, but that speaks volumes to this Cowboys team, how they're playing right now. When Lamb goes out and struggles, in last year, the year before, especially when they're down 21-0, you could have kissed that team goodbye. Wrap it all up, put it under the tree. Adios. Ship it off. Not happening. The 2025 Dallas Cowboys, led by Schottenheimer, who brings the energy in the locker room, who brings the encouragement to his team, who brings just a different feeling to this Cowboys team than what I've seen and probably what their fans have felt in several years. And what is it? It's optimism. Schottenheimer brings optimism to a franchise that over the past several decades, 2-3 decades, has fully struggled with optimism outside of a few seasons, right? The Dak rookie year, the Zeke year or two. Outside of that, there hasn't been full optimism from the locker room, from the organization. Schottenheimer brings that optimism to the locker room, and it's evident. This was tied for the Cowboys' biggest comeback win ever. Tied for the largest comeback win ever in Dallas Cowboy franchise history. Credit to Schottenheimer. Because especially when Lamb's getting drops and he seems to be getting in his head and you're down 21-0, usually the Cowboys fold. Schottenheimer brings that confidence and just brings that damn, you know what? Back against the wall, let's just give it a shot. Optimism. Credit to Schottenheimer, credit to the Cowboys for a big win. They're 5-5-1. They're still out of the playoff picture. They need some help from some other teams, but they got to keep winning. And with Schottenheimer, the way this team's playing, maybe they can. They got a tough game on Thursday, I'll just tell you that. But maybe they can. Credit to Schotty. Major credit. Quick segment here to wrap up a little Week 12 recap. A little different of an episode, given it's a Thanksgiving week. Got some, obviously, Thanksgiving games, all 3 of them to really deep dive into, giving you some great analysis, some big-time stats, some pointers, some bets, all of it for these games. A little bit of a different episode for this Tuesday morning one. But I want to leave the Week 12 analysis with this. J.J. McCarthy. As they call him, 9. They call him 9. It's like an alter ego. So it's like his mantra. It's like the aura he goes by. 9, quote. Continues to struggle. My new nickname for J.J. McCarthy on this show. I will never call him J.J. McCarthy again until I get a reason to otherwise to not call him this. From now on the Swank Tank, J.J. McCarthy's new nickname will be P48. I will not be calling him 9. I will be calling him P48. What does that even mean, Swank? J.J. McCarthy in Week 12 had .48 fantasy points. He played the entire game. .48 fantasy points. He had, let me check my notes, 87 passing yards and 2 picks. If he had taken the first snap of the very first snap of the game, if he had taken it and ran for 5 yards and didn't play another down, he would have finished with more fantasy points than what he did finish with .48. At least in my league, how we do scoring, it was .48. So on the show, on the Swank Tank, P48, that's how we're going to reference him from now on. Maybe in your league, you got like .52, whatever it was. Here on the show, because in my league, you got .48, that's what we're going to roll with. P48, got a nice little ring to it. That's going to be used for the weeks to come, maybe even seasons, unless he gives me a reason to change it. P48's been struggling. It's laughable how bad not just him, but the Vikings performed on Sunday. They got killed in this game. The score didn't even fully reflect how poor they performed and how badly they got killed in this spot. Vikings moved to 4-7. P48 seemingly just getting worse and worse by the week. No more 9. You got to change the nickname after a performance like that. P48, man, he's got to get his stuff together. It's bad. Vikings offensive line's not good. They're 4-7. Their season's over. They're now dead in the water. They're completely out of it. Jefferson's getting frustrated. Where do you go as a team if you're Minnesota? Because you obviously invested in McCarthy. He missed all of last season. This is, quote, his rookie year. He's now in concussion protocol. So not only has he been what's even the right word I want to use here? Very much underperforming. But he's also been getting injured too. So you bring in that aspect, it's a disaster in Minnesota. You got old head Aaron Jones back there who still got pop. I like Aaron Jones. Not trying to diss him. But yeah, a backfield full of Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. Okay. You got Hawkinson, who had a big injury last year, who's come back and has looked okay, decent. Jefferson has not been fully able to get going with McCarthy at the helm. The Vikings offensive line has struggled. The Vikings defense has been very hit or miss this year. They don't create a lot of turnovers. Where do you go? Where do you look next if you're the Minnesota Vikings? If you're going into the draft, ask yourself, what do you draft first if you're Minnesota? If it's me, it's probably offensive line. Most likely. You don't need wide receiver. It's like the one position you don't need for now. Maybe Jefferson's mind is somewhere else. Maybe he wants to go to a new team. I'm just speculating in that front. But you can feel it, the growing frustration in Minnesota. So P48 having a rough year. It's just rough in Minnesota. And that wraps up our Week 12 recap. It is time now to shift over to the Thanksgiving games. We've got 3 great ones for you. Let's dive straight into them. Picks, predictions, analysis, and bets. Let's do it. The first game of the Thanksgiving slate. It is at noon Central Time. The 7-3-1 Green Bay Packers taking on the 7-4 Detroit Lions. Detroit minus 2.5 here on Thanksgiving. Throughout the Detroit Lions history, as you know, they play on Thanksgiving every single year. Their record is 38-45-2. Not the most impressive record in the world, but they've had some rough stretches in their team's history. 38-45-2 on Thanksgiving for Detroit. Packers on Thanksgiving, also a pretty common Thanksgiving team, 16-20-2. Both these teams have not had great success whatsoever on Thanksgiving, given their histories. And Green Bay's is actually pretty surprising. You would think a team like Green Bay would have more success on Thanksgiving, but apparently not. Josh Jacobs will be back here in this game. At least I'm expecting him to be for Green Bay. Wilson did a great job last week against Minnesota, but Jacobs should be back here in this spot. Brock Wright, tight end for Detroit, may be out here with a neck injury. Again, Laporta's out for season with, I believe, back surgery. So the loss of Brock Wright, you may be thinking that's insignificant. It's not. Very much not. You know how Dan Campbell likes to utilize his tight ends. If Wright is out, that's a little bit of an issue for Detroit here, for sure. But Terry and Arnold, there's a chance he plays. If I had to guess, he won't. He's been somewhat back. He's been, quote, limited in his return so far from injury. He's been out several weeks. I don't expect him to play. He might, so it's out there. But I think they're going to sit him one more week. Too fast of a turnaround for Detroit. Lions coming off a overtime win against the Giants where their secondary, the Lions secondary, DJ Reed is back there, got absolutely torched. They let Jameis Winston throw for 366 yards and 2 touchdowns. There was no Malik Neighbors. It was Wan'Dale frickin' Robinson, and it was Jameis Winston catching passes himself. 366 passing yards. That's the most passing yards given up by the Lions this year in a single game. Torched. Not good. Maybe that bleeds over into this Thursday game against Green Bay. Packers coming off a dominant win over P48 and the Vikings in classic 2025 Green Bay Packer fashion. What did they do? Jordan Love, I don't even know if he eclipsed 175 passing yards. I don't think he did. Green Bay got home to the quarterback. Parsons got involved in this game. I believe had 1 or 2 sacks. It was a classic Green Bay win. They ran the football down your throat. They controlled the game. They played relatively clean football. Wilson got 2 touchdowns in this spot. Ran for over 100 yards. Defense stepped up, did their thing. Jordan Love just sat back and said, okay, here, I'll hand the ball off. Okay, I'll sit down and watch my defense play ball. That's what Green Bay wants to do in the old 2025. And when they can do that, when Green Bay plays the way they want to, very dangerous. Yet, as we've seen in their losses, when they can't play the style of football they want to, they very much struggle. Very much struggle. And what does that mean? When Jordan Love is forced to throw the football, that's when they've struggled. Last week against Minnesota, they didn't have to throw the football at all. Had success in the running game. In their losses, outside of the Pittsburgh game, on I believe that was Sunday Night Football, Jordan Love really hasn't performed up to how I want to see him perform. This is a very talented passer. Green Bay, I get it, wants to run the ball. Green Bay wants the defense to step up. It's what they want to do. But I think in this spot, it's a good spot for Jordan Love, and I think they need to exploit that Lions secondary that just gave up their most passing yards in a single game this year. Detroit defensive front has been solid. Lions run defense, it's been good, but the Lions are bottom 8 in passing touchdowns allowed. Vulnerability in the secondary from Detroit. I need to see Jordan Love step up here, put on the big boy pants, and maybe that has to tie in with LaFleur too, in the play calling, in the scheme. It definitely does. LaFleur needs to put on the big boy pants. Jordan Love needs to too. And they need to go out there and say, you know what, Jordan, I'm going to let you just freaking fling this thing. That's how I see this game going. Because you look at the Packers defense, they're very, very solid. The Packers defense is top 10 in passing yards and rushing yards given up. Right? On the flip side. So they can kind of control this game relatively how they want to. For Green Bay's offense, I want to see them exploit that Detroit defense. In the air. In the air. Yes, Jacobs will still get volume. Yes, they want to establish the run. I think it's going to have to come off of Jordan Love's arm for them to win this game. And I'm going to tell you right now, here's my prediction. I think they do. I'm going to take Green Bay to win. But if they want to, in my opinion, Love needs to throw for at least 2 touchdowns. The secondary for Detroit, as you saw on Sunday, is vulnerable. Exploit it. LaFleur, if you're listening to the Swank Tank, maybe he does. LaFleur, maybe a annual, weekly listener of the podcast. If you're listening, LaFleur, exploit it. Have faith in your guy. If the run game's especially not there, just let him fling it. I think he does that here. Give me Green Bay to get the upset on the road, and I'm taking the Packers to do it, given the weak secondary for Detroit. So give me Green Bay. We'll see how that one goes. It's a huge game, not only for the NFC North, but for the entire NFC playoff picture. Huge game for both these teams to continue to try to build on top of their previous wins, given that over the past several weeks, they've struggled consistency-wise. Huge game for both these squads. I think Green Bay gets it done. We move forward. We have the 6-5 Chiefs traveling to take on the 5-1 Dallas Cowboys. Kansas City, -3 here. Chiefs defense, right off the bat, we're getting into it. Top 10 in yards on both sides of their defense. Both parts to it, I should say. In the air and on the ground. They're top 10 in yards per game given up. Very solid. Consistent. In both the secondary and the defensive line. in stopping the run and stopping the pass in terms of yards. Cowboys defense has been very much improved since they made the trade for Wilson from the Bengals. I believe that's his name. They've been very much improved over the past 2 games. They've given up 21 to the Eagles, 16 to the Raiders. Very solid. It's been improved, but you know that defense still has weaknesses. They are still second to last in the NFL in pass yards allowed per game. That defense in that secondary still has weaknesses. They didn't address the secondary in the trades. That stayed the same. It's weak. It's weak. You don't think Andy Reid knows that? He knows that. He knows that. And I think that's where the Chiefs have this major edge here. Because, yes, the Cowboys defense has been improved. But that secondary is weak. And the Chiefs on their side of the ball defensively are very strong in both defensive front, linebacking core, and secondary. They don't have a main weakness on that defense versus where you look at the Cowboys, like I just mentioned, it's definitely their secondary and their safeties back there for Dallas. Andy Reid knows it. He's going to exploit it. By the way, Dallas on Thanksgiving is 34-22-1. Much better record than the Packers in those lines that we just touched on. So here's the deal. Here's the final statement for this game for me. Chiefs offensively is another note to add in. They have turned the ball over only 8 times on the year. That's top 10. They don't turn the ball over very often. Dallas last week, in that comeback win, was able to create several major turnovers. That's how the spark was brought back. That's how they were able to get back into the game. That's how they were able to win the game. But Dallas has only created, on the season total, 10 turnovers, which I believe is bottom 10. So you take the Chiefs, who don't turn the ball over a lot. You take the Cowboys, who don't cause a lot of turnovers. And then you tell me that their secondary is still very weak, as we've all been able to see. It's Chiefs. Mahomes last week didn't throw for a touchdown. I expect at least 2 this week from him, maybe 3. We're ready. I'm ready. And I'm not necessarily rooting for it. I'm actually very much not. You guys know I'm a Texans fan. I'm not necessarily rooting for it. But I do think it's a Mahomes week. It lines up perfectly. Primetime spot, Thanksgiving. You know he loves to play primetime. That's where he shines. In Dallas. The biggest stadium, the biggest market of all. On Thanksgiving. Last week, wasn't able to find the end zone. Now plays a incredibly poor Dallas secondary. It's Mahomes time. It's Mahomes time. I'm taking the Chiefs here to win and move to 7-5. Taking Cowboys to take the L on Thanksgiving. Last game of the Thanksgiving slate. 3-8 Bengals at the 6-5 Ravens. I'm keeping this one a little bit quicker. Baltimore is -7 here. The Bengals defensively are one of the worst teams I've ever seen in my entire life. Fact. That's not even a take. It's a fact. They are horrid on both sides of the football. They're bottom 3, not only in passing yards, in rushing yards too. Bottom 3. Along with that, they've given up the most passing touchdowns in the NFL. Where are they playing? In Baltimore. Who are they playing? Lamar Jackson. A guy that can not only throw for 3, he can run for 3. This sets up horribly for the Bengals. Then you throw in Trey Hendrickson still out. Then you throw in that T. Higgins is out with a concussion. Joe Burrow's coming back from an 8-week-long injury, whatever it is. This is, people I think may give a slight benefit here to it being in division and maybe being an upset spot. Maybe. I don't know who would be saying that, but there's some that have to be. I'm just seeing right through that BS. This could be a blowout. This could very much be a blowout. I would not be shocked if the Ravens won by 20. I really wouldn't. That's how bad the Bengals defense is. The Ravens offense still needs to fully click. We touched on it earlier. Their defense has been great. Giving up freaking 13 points per game over the last 5. I want to see that Ravens offense click. I think they do here. They do. Lamar, Lamar's going to get whatever he wants in this spot. In his own building, on Thursday night, on Thanksgiving, after winning 5 straight. Again, last week had a relatively, they won the game, but a rough week offensively for Baltimore overall. They couldn't have asked for a better matchup on Thanksgiving and a great spot for them to try to solidify that lead in the AFC North. They're licking their lips earlier in the day, looking at their Thanksgiving plate. They're licking their lips on Thursday night, looking at that damn Bengals defense that is bottom 3 in passing and rushing yards. And the little cherry on top, the Sunday, the cherry on top for the dessert for their Thanksgiving night is that the Bengals give up the most passing touchdowns in the NFL. This is Ravens written all over it. I hope you enjoyed those Thanksgiving metaphors there or allusions. Ravens win here big. Ravens win here big. My 3 DFS locks for Thanksgiving. As you know, I love to play DFS. I am not sponsored by FanDuel. I do not get paid to talk about FanDuel. One day I hope to. That is a dream of mine. One day I very much hope to. FanDuel, if you're listening, you have my heart. I love to play DFS. It's so fun. We've been having a great year. Last week, struggled on Sunday. That's okay. You're not going to win every week. I have 3 locks for you. If you play DFS, or if you want to throw them in on fantasy, prop bets, whatever you want to do with them. Mark Andrews, Patrick Mahomes, Romeo Doubs. That's 1 from each game. Those are my 3 DFS locks. Mark Andrews is in a phenomenal spot here. Given the stats I just gave you from that Bengals defense, given how you saw Hunter Henry play last week, which I predicted, by the way, had him in DFS, knew Drake May would find him a lot last week. Bengals are giving up a lot of points to tight ends. Mark Andrews here, lock him in. Mahomes, we touched on it. He's going to feast. Dobbs. It could be Watson, but I like Dobbs here. You saw last week a guy like Wando Robinson go off against Detroit. What's his build? What's his play style? Kind of quick, can stretch the field, smaller wide receiver that can create space. Dobbs is that guy. Watson's the more powerful wide receiver that can go up and get that jump ball for you or truck a guy over. Dobbs is the more shifty guy. Likes to be used in the slot. Reminds me a little bit of a Wandale Robinson. That's why I like Dobbs. Plus, I think Jordan Love's going to have to beat the Lions in the secondary. Those are my 3 DFS locks. Those are my 3 Thanksgiving winners. And that is our Thanksgiving episode, I believe episode 24 of the Swank Tank. If you made it all the way to the end, I appreciate you so very much. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family, enjoy the friends, enjoy the people, enjoy the food. Most importantly, enjoy the football. If you're not following again on all the socials at the Swank Tank, please go and do so. Tell a friend, tell your family. Why not? About this up and coming show, the Swank Tank. We only do NFL here. 24/7, 365, NFL only. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it all the way to the end, I appreciate it. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy that football. We will see you Friday morning, 11:30 a.m. to predict the rest of the Week 13 slate. We'll see you then. Have a great start to your week. Enjoy that Thanksgiving ball. We'll see you on Friday.